At 17:55 Eastern Time on June 24, 2025, a 30,000-pound chunk of hardened steel and explosives plummeted through the Iranian darkness at 700 miles per hour. In exactly 43 seconds, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator would drill through 200 feet of reinforced concrete and granite. The Fordo nuclear enrichment facility, buried so deep that conventional weapons would be useless, was about to learn why Americans don't have universal healthcare. How this bomb arrived represents one of the most spectacular military operations in over 20 years. 18 hours earlier, ground crews at Whitman Air Force Base worked frantically around one of only 19 operational B-2 bombers. Each aircraft costs $2.1 billion, literally worth more than its weight in gold. 14 GBU-57 MOPs loaded on rotary launchers, conformal fuel tanks topped with 180,000 pounds of JP-8, APQ-181 radars set to full stealth mode. At 0:16 Eastern on Saturday, June 24th, the first B-2 rolled down Whitman's runway. The Spirit's 4 F-118 engines produce 17,300 pounds of thrust each, whisper quiet, yet powerful enough to lift 336,500 pounds into the night. 7 bombers launched eastward toward Iran, while another group headed west toward the Pacific. The deception was brilliant. Russian and Chinese satellites tracking the westbound group would report B-2 movements toward Guam, creating diplomatic confusion. Meanwhile, the real strike package ghosted eastward into Atlantic darkness. The Atlantic crossing got sporty fast. B-2s fly 6,000 nautical miles without refueling with internal fuel only. Conformal tanks add range but also drag, cutting that to 4,500 miles. Missouri to Iran and back, 14,200 miles. The math doesn't work without tankers. The first aerial refueling happened around 4:15 over the mid-Atlantic, connecting a refueling probe at night in turbulence at 400 knots is like threading a needle on a mechanical bull in darkness. The B-2 pilot maintains exact position, 30 feet behind, 15 feet below, 0 lateral deviation. One mistake forces the bomber home. After 2 more refuelings and 15.5 hours of flight, the strike package approached Iraqi airspace at 15:45 Eastern. 4 F-22 Raptors materialized from empty sky, their APG-77 radars painting everything within 200 miles while remaining invisible. The lead Raptor checked in. Disco 47, sweet picture, clean, no factor. Translation: skies clear of threats. These F-22s carried 6 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders each, ready to splash any Iranian fighter. Behind them, 8 F-35s brought up the rear. Against 2 squadrons of 5th-generation fighters, the Iranian Air Force might as well stay home. But the B-2s weren't alone tonight. 2 hours earlier, at 17:15 Eastern, 1,200 miles away, the captain of USS Georgia watched the digital countdown. Georgia isn't like other submarines. Originally an Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine carrying nuclear tridents, she was converted into an SSGN for $700 million, where she once carried 24 nuclear missiles. She now packs 154 Tomahawk land attack missiles. More cruise missile firepower than an entire carrier strike group. Each Tomahawk Block 5 costs $2 million and delivers a 1,000-pound warhead 1,500 miles away with inch-level accuracy. At periscope depth, 60 feet below surface, Georgia was vulnerable. Her photonics mast created a radar return any competent operator should spot. But Iranian coastal radars focused on the Persian Gulf's narrow waters, not the deeper waters where Georgia lurked. Launching missiles underwater isn't simple. Each Tomahawk sits in a high-pressure gas canister. When launch arrives, an explosive charge breaks the seal, and gas pressure shoots the missile out like a cork. It breaks surface at 50 feet per second until the solid rocket booster ignites. Newton's third law is unforgiving. Punch a 3,000-pound missile out, and the submarine wants to go down. The ballast team must compensate in real time, or the submarine surfaces, exposing itself to every radar within 50 miles. At 16:20 Eastern, the first Tomahawk erupted from the ocean. The booster burned for 12 seconds, accelerating to 550 miles per hour. The Williams F-107 turbofan took over. By 1645, all 30 missiles were airborne, each maintaining precise height above terrain, sometimes just 100 feet, comparing stored satellite imagery with actual terrain. Flight time to Isfahan, 127 minutes, precisely calculated to arrive 30 minutes before the B-2 strikes. At 16:15 Eastern, a massive fighter sweep accelerated ahead of the B-2 formation. Over 60 aircraft formed the largest coordinated strike package since Iraqi freedom. 4 F-22 Raptors at 50,000 feet, 8 F-35s at 35,000 feet, several dozen F-18 Super Hornets at 25,000 feet, and 4 EA-18G Growlers providing electronic warfare. Dozens more F-18s orbited the Gulf. Multiple KC-135 and KC-46 tankers loitered in Iraqi airspace. F-35s remained in pure air-to-air configuration with 4 AMRAAMs each, serving as stealthy sensors. 3 dozen F-18 Super Hornets provided the punch, some carrying 3 HARMs, others air-to-air, others escort. Over 60 HARMs available, combined with 8 from the Growlers. The package could engage every radar in Iran twice over. The strike package spread across 60 miles. F-35s used their ANASC 239 electronic warfare suites to passively map Iranian air defenses while remaining electromagnetically invisible, passing targeting data via Link 16 to Super Hornets, who could engage without compromising stealth. The EA-18G Growlers initiated their electronic symphony. Each aircraft's 3 LQ 99 pods pumped 30 kilowatts of jamming power across multiple bands. Iranian radar screens filled with false returns, phantom aircraft, random ranges, meaningless bearings. Information warfare at light speed. At 1747, an S-300 battery near Natanz broke emissions control, its fire control radar attempting to burn through jamming. 3 aircraft had instant firing solutions. An F-35 detected it. A Super Hornet launched an AGM-88G. The Growler targeted it for reactive jamming. The HARM hit Mach 2.5 when S-300 operators shut down 15 seconds later. Too late. The explosion transformed a $100 million air defense system into scrap. By 1750, 31 HARMs expended, 31 radars and SAM sites destroyed. Every surviving radar went silent. Iranian operators, trained to fear American SEAD since Desert Storm, chose survival. Growlers shifted to communications jamming. Ground-controlled intercept frequencies went silent. SAM coordination channels filled with static. F-22s maintained high cover. No Iranian pilot launched. At 1754 Eastern, with the corridor sanitized, the B-2s began their run. The 125 aircraft armada created a 50-mile wide, 200-mile deep highway where American aircraft operated with impunity. Not one missile fired at coalition aircraft. Not one Iranian fighter airborne. At 1854 local time, the lead B-2 began its attack run. The pilot-enabled GPS-aided targeting, achieving 5-foot accuracy. The rotary launcher spun up, positioning the first MOP. Below, Fordo sat under 300 feet of mountain granite older than civilization. In 60 seconds, the U.S. military would change the geography. At exactly 1755 Eastern, the first GBU-57 fell free at 45,000 feet. GPS receivers locked, tail fins deployed. Then gravity took over. The pilot felt the aircraft jump as 30,000 pounds released. Bird away, good separation. GPS lock confirmed. The brutal math. That MOP would impact at 700 miles per hour, delivering 1.5 billion joules, equivalent to a freight train hitting a wall. The hardened steel penetrator would punch through 200 feet of reinforced concrete or 40 feet of solid granite. Fordo sat under both. At 1755 and 43 seconds, the first MOP struck. Impact created a 2.3 Richter earthquake, but it didn't detonate on impact. The smart fuse counted down as the penetrator bored through rock and concrete. The warhead, 5,300 pounds of tritonal, detonated 180 feet underground, creating a 30-foot diameter cavity. The overpressure wave traveled at 15,000 feet per second. Concrete designed for 10,000 psi met forces exceeding 100,000 psi. It didn't crack. It turned to powder. One mop wasn't enough. 12 were slated for Fordo, each impact calculated to create overlapping shock waves. The remaining B-2s followed in sequence. From the ground, artificial meteor strikes, flashes of light, thunder across mountains. At Natans, only 2 mops targeted this less deeply buried facility. Weapons officers delayed release for proper spacing. 2 30,000-pound bombs too close would interfere destructively. Meanwhile, 700 miles away, Georgia's Tomahawks entered terminal phase, each nose camera activated, comparing imagery. The ENDPW-23 achieved lock, making final corrections. 2 hours flying, 350 pounds of fuel burned, following terrain like 20-foot homing pigeons. At Isfahan, night workers heard them coming. Williams F-107 turbofans produce a distinctive whine at 550 miles per hour. The Tor M one-point defense systems, confused by jamming, tried desperately to lock. Engagement envelope, only 12 kilometers. At Tomahawk speed, less than 49 seconds from detection to impact. The first Tomahawk struck the hexafluoride storage building at 1920 Eastern. Its 1,000-pound warhead aerosolized tons of uranium hexafluoride, creating a toxic cloud, making the facility uninhabitable. The next 29 missiles arrived over 45 seconds, each targeting specific buildings from years of intelligence. The B-2s turned for home, fuel calculations showing exactly 180,000 pounds remaining, enough to reach tankers with regulation reserves. Behind them, 3 nuclear facilities burned. Total time over target, 25 minutes. Not one surface-to-air missile launched. Not one Iranian fighter attempted takeoff. Surprise was total. Execution was flawless. In less than half an hour, Iran's nuclear program got set back to square one. In 25 minutes, the US military did what 7 prior administrations couldn't: take away Iran's nuclear capabilities for good. See you later.